The afternoon sun slanted through the high windows of the Hound's Inn, casting long shadows across the worn floorboards. Eldrin sat by the hearth with his lute, fingers moving through a familiar melody. The light had that quality that came just before evening, warm, already thinning at the edges. Mara emerged from the kitchen carrying 2 mugs of cider. She set one beside him and took the chair opposite, her movements measured. "You've been quiet," Eldrin said, letting the melody fade. "I've been thinking about the wedding tomorrow." She cupped the mug between her hands. "The river folk and the hill folk haven't joined their families in 3 generations. This is meant to mend something old." Eldrin set the lute aside. "You said it was an honor." "It is." She took a slow drink. "That doesn't make it simple." The fire shifted softly. "What do I need to know?" he asked. "That it won't be like the weddings you're used to." She leaned forward slightly. "You'll be watched. If something unsettles you, don't ignore it. And if I do something wrong, you'll know." He let out a breath. "That's all." "It's enough." Her expression grew more serious. "If something goes wrong, you'll have to decide how far you're willing to involve yourself." The shadows had lengthened while they spoke. Outside, evening settled into the trees. "You could refuse," Mara said. Eldrin shook his head. "No, I gave my word." She studied him a moment, then nodded. "See that you return." The path narrowed as Eldrin walked deeper into the woods, his lute case shifting with each step. The light had been golden when he left the inn. Now it settled into shadow. The trees were old, their trunks wide and rooted deep. The air held the scent of earth and water, and something else beneath it, something that made the skin along his arm stir. He followed the stream as he had been told. The water ran clear and cold. When he looked up again, the path seemed to hold more firmly beneath his feet. The fork appeared where it should have been. The standing stones rose ahead, worn smooth by time. Eldrin slowed as he approached, feeling that familiar shift, the sense of crossing from one place into another. The light changed as he passed between them. Music reached him, pipes and strings, layered and intricate. He followed the sound as the forest opened into a glade. Lanterns hung from the branches, casting a steady glow. The grass beneath them was too green for the season. At the center stood a pavilion woven from living branches. Fae moved through the space with easy grace. The river folk in blues and greens, their movements fluid. The hill folk in earth tones, quieter, more solid. They mingled, but carefully. A figure approached, one of the river folk. "You're the bard from the Hound's Inn." "I am," Eldrin said, inclining his head. "You'll play during the feast. Mind the protocols." "I will." He stepped into the glade. The music settled into him as he took his place at the edge of the gathering. His lute felt steady in his hands. The guests moved in quiet patterns. The river folk laughed softly, their voices carrying like water. The hill folk spoke in lower tones, their attention measured. The bride and groom stood beneath the arch, she in pale blue, light as mist, he in darker tones, steady as the ground beneath him. Eldrin began to play. The first song moved gently, something that carried without pressing. Conversation slowed. The space shifted around the music. He was 3 songs in when he noticed the outsider. The man stood at the edge of the clearing, half hidden by an old oak, young, plainly dressed, watching with the open curiosity of someone who did not understand where he stood. He reached out and plucked a white flower, fastening it to his coat. The music nearly faltered. Eldrin steadied it. The man stepped closer. Eldrin shifted the melody, drawing attention, letting the rhythm change. Heads turned, the man hesitated. Eldrin rose, still playing, and moved toward him. The guests parted without question. The melody changed again, quieter now, something that suggested movement, direction. He met the man's eyes, then let his gaze drift toward the dark edge of the trees. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the man stepped back. Eldrin passed him, lowering his voice just enough. "You should go. Don't look back." The man nodded and turned into the woods. Eldrin continued a few steps more before letting the music fall away. When he turned back, the gathering had settled again, as though nothing had changed. The feast continued. The river folk danced, fluid and bright. The hill folk watched, their stillness unreadable. The bride and groom sat together beneath the arch, hands joined. A figure approached, tall, angular, carrying a carved cup. "You play well, Bard," it said, offering it. "Drink with us." "You honour me," Eldrin said, bowing slightly, "but I must return before daybreak." The Fae studied him, then smiled. "Wise," it said, and moved away. "Wise," it said, and moved away. Eldrin inclined his head and stepped back from the firelight. The forest closed around him as he left the clearing, the music fading behind him. The night had settled fully now, the stars clear between the branches. He walked without haste. Before long, the lights of the inn appeared ahead, closer than they should have been. He did not question it.